Golden Spiral Media presents The Blacklist Exposed.
Hello, special agents. You have come to the right place. Welcome to The Blacklist Exposed. I am Agent Troy Heinrichs. We are here with a special edition of The Blacklist Exposed with our Season 1 special archive episodes. The following episode appeared on the TV Talk Network for Season 1 of The Blacklist, and we're bringing it to you here on The Blacklist Exposed, remastered and used with permission from TV Talk. We hope you sit back, relax, and enjoy this special episode from Season 1.
You're tuned in to TV Talk, The Blacklist. Welcome to TV Talk, America's #1 TV talk show network. And now it's time for TV Talk, The Blacklist.
Well, I don't need any drugs or stimulants to get my blood pumping or my heart racing this evening. Welcome to TV Talk, The Blacklist. I'm Troy.
And I'm Dave, with you tonight for the epic conclusion of the fall finale, where number 16, Mr. Anslo Garrick, will meet his fate, airing December 2nd, 2013.
Great responses last week, Dave, to our talkback question. You can hear what drives and motivates all the people via the free TV Talk app for iOS and Android at tvtalkapp.com, or you can listen to those clips right on the website at tvtalk.com/shows/blacklist. And of course, you will need that app if you want to leave any feedback for this exciting conclusion of the two-part saga involving Mr. Anslo Garrick himself.
And even better, Troy, this week, if you leave a talkback comment and you share it with your friends on Facebook or Twitter, you will then be entered to win the Vizio soundbar and be one step closer to that fall grand prize, that Sony 4K TV.
Oh, man, I can't wait. The drawing date is getting closer. So just,
it really is.
Oh, yeah. I can only imagine what it would be like seeing the rest of the Blacklist unfold with that 4K television.
Somebody's going to have a very good Christmas.
That's for sure. Just visit tvtalk.com/win for all of the details. And since we are starting the winter hiatus, you can also visit us on Twitter as we keep the Blacklist news floating your way over the coming weeks in the Twitter stream. So you can follow me at Troy Heinrichs. That's H-E-I-N as in Nancy, R-I-T as in Tom, Z as in zebra.
And you can follow me at SaviniFan, SAVINIFAN.
Great way to segue the two episodes tonight. Wouldn't you agree, Dave?
Absolutely. And I'll tell you, it was kind of a little bit of a shocking open to find out that someone we thought had been knocked off hadn't been.
And then even more shocking to find out that it didn't even play out the way we had originally intended or thought it was going to happen, because I really thought they were going to basically put, almost to the breaking point of putting a bullet in Lizzie's head in order to get the code out, but Ressler gives it up quite easily.
Yeah, he really kind of does. And also, during this whole big fiasco going on, who calls Liz on the phone but good old Tom?
Yeah, you need your husband to be checking in on you every now and then, because, it's not like it's just a regular office job for the rest of us where we can actually say, how are the kids' school days and things of that nature. Interrupt me while I have a gun to my melon. That's perfect.
And what do you think about that code? Was there any significance there with the code being Romeo? Did that mean anything?
I haven't picked up on anything from the course of the season, but if you think Romeo and Juliet, right? Two families, star-crossed lovers, there might be something there, because as we, of course, move along in our episode tonight, we find out that someone's actually pulling Red's strings. So maybe there is a little Montague Capulet kind of story going on here between Red's family, if we again assume Red is Lizzie's father, and these other people who may have actually burnt down Red's house originally.
Maybe something we look for here in the second segment of the season when it comes up. But I was just wondering if that meant something. They made a pretty big deal about it. So, but in the end, Anslo gains access and hauls Red on out of the box.
Yeah, because it seemed like the intent wasn't actually to kill Red after all. we find out that Anslo is actually working for someone, and he was basically, told that he was supposed to bring Red to the party, deliver him to the banquet hall, if you will, in order to basically set him straight for some wrongdoings, I guess he must have done.
Yeah, something. Red's got his hand in everything. But I thought the escape was particularly interesting, how they get out of there by placing some explosive on the floor, basically blowing a hole in the floor and escaping through like an old subway tunnel or an old train tunnel or something.
Yeah, I mean, these Black Ops sites, I mean, it seems like they have some very interesting configurations and how they can turn them into what they turn them into, right? Because, again, the one where Red actually ends up getting held is also a church. So they turn a church into a Black Ops site. They turn this old abandoned rail yard into a Black Ops site. I would have expected them to maybe go out a different way because it seems like they have to go underground pretty far to get into the post office at first anyway. To go down even farther was pretty amazing.
Right, but they do. They get Liz and Red and they haul them off, throw them in an ambulance, and they're kind of out of there. They managed to escape with their 2 prisoners.
The best thing about tonight's episode is that I now know how to play Call of Duty really well, because as long as I have 4 or 5 guys and we just keep moving forward, it seems like your team can't be taken out.
That's the key to the whole thing, huh?
I mean, both times, right? Because the FBI comes in and they kind of do that flanking thing and just keep pushing forward and take everybody out as they go. And then, of course, we have Red's people that come up a little bit later, and then they just kind of push through the Black Ops site in order to see if they can get to Red, but end up instead coming to a computer station that might be part of something else that we don't quite know because they blow it up just as we get there.
Prior to that, just a little bit prior to that, they managed to cut that chip out of Red, which I thought was of all the blood and gru we've seen in this, for some reason, that the very graphic of them taking that chip out of Red's neck really got to me tonight. I thought that was particularly graphic for some reason.
Well, and what was interesting was that they, took the chip out, but Red didn't seem to be in any pain at all. You would think that, they didn't give him any kind of antiseptic or anesthesia or local anesthesia to basically numb that area. So the minute they cut him out there, you'd think he'd wince or move or jump a little bit more.
Not our Red, man. He's made of stone.
Yeah, I jumped though. I was like, whoa, that hurts.
But I thought it was interesting how they kind of handed it out. After they got the chip out, they had a motorcycle close by and handed it off. So now the FBI's just running all over town chasing this chip that this guy's carrying around with him. Eventually, they do figure out that the chip is gone, and they realize that Reddington is gone. They've lost Reddington. And Lizzie has managed to somehow fall out of the back of the ambulance, or escape out the back of the ambulance somehow.
But not before Red lets Lizzie know that she should contact, basically, I guess, a friend or an associate of Red's, Mr. Kaplan, which we then find out is not really a Mr. after all, and it's actually a Ms.
Yeah, right. Right. I mean, just so much going on in this episode. I mean, it really moved at a breakneck pace this week. It really, truly did. Because of all this, it turns out now that the FBI is going to close down. Since they've lost Reddington, they've now become a liability, and they're going to close down the show. They're disavowing the task force, and they're locking it down.
For some reason, Liz just can't let it go. It seems like things were just happening too quickly, and it was too easy to find Red. There must be a mole, right? Because these shows always have a mole when it comes down to it at the end of the day. And so sure enough, they start to go on their mole hunt and realize that actually a bunch of cell phone calls were coming right across the street from Liz's apartment.
The techno geek guy that Liz has joined up with us for these last 2 episodes, he triangulates and does whatever it is he does and determines that a bunch of phone calls came from directly across the street, where, of course, we know is the one and only Mr. Appleweeder's been hanging out.
Well, at first I was kind of like, when they said the address, I was like, wait, she has a weird look on her face. Oh my gosh, it's her address. It's Tom. Tom's the one that's been doing it. Finally, yes. We get to see what Tom's all about. And then she looks out the window and it's like, darn, it's Mr. Appleweeder.
It's Mr. Appleweeder. So in the meantime, while all this is going on, we were back with Red, who has now been kind of strung up by his hands in this old warehouse of some type. And Anslo is there with him, and you can tell some serious torture is about to go down.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Anslo got his face shot off. I mean, really, at this point, Red should be praying to whatever he believes in order to figure out how he's getting out of this one, because Anslo's got payback coming his way.
Yeah, but this is also where we find out that this isn't Anslo's game. We find out that Anslo has actually been hired by someone else to bring Red in. He's not going to kill Red, at least not yet. Somebody else wants to talk to Red.
Now, if you're a bad guy, we had this kind of conversation in the last episode where Red was talking with Ressler about how right now you're my friend, but, in 10 seconds you could be my enemy, depending on when the contract and negotiations expire. But this poor Anslo. I mean, first he's answering to Red, then he goes behind Red's back. Now he's answering to somebody else. I mean, Anslo can't get his own operation to save his life. I mean, is he just really that bad of a criminal?
He's just a flunky, huh?
The interesting thing, though, that happens is he has this conversation with Red, and even though he wants to do stuff to him, he's just basically buttering him up. I guess if you take this whole banquet hall concept that Anslo was talking about, he's tenderizing the meat in order to get him to a point where someone or something is going to come in and basically have a larger or deeper conversation with him. And I don't know if you were as shocked as I was, but I was appalled, excited, all kinds of emotions were running through when Alan Alda came on the screen.
Yeah, it was really a shocker. I hadn't seen his name in any of the opening credits, and I actually hadn't even read. You would think a star of that caliber, NBC would be teasing him. You know, Alan Alda joins the cast of the Blacklist or something, but nothing. It's just all of a sudden, Anslo kind of says, the guy who wants to talk to you is here, and out of the shadow walks good old Alan Alda in his Arnie Vinnick garb from the old West Wing days. He still looks like Senator Vinnick. Yeah, that's what he reminded me of.
So we have to kind of rewind now, because Alan Alda sits down with Red. The first thing he says, "Hey, Red, it's been 20 years. So if we kind of replay the entire season up to this point, right? So Raymond Red Reddington is basically a naval officer. He's on his way to become admiral, and then just literally goes off the grid, disappears, and then becomes involved with all of these, black ops type operations for the criminals that are on the blacklist, kind of running his own criminal gang, becomes the number one wanted person from the FBI. And then here he is sitting across from Alan Alda's character, and he says it's been 20 years. So we have to assume that Alan Alda's character is somebody in the U.S. government, wouldn't you say?
Something like that. And we find out actually in the kind of limited conversation they have, we actually find out a lot, because it is quite apparent that Red is the holder of some information that Mr. Alda and his team are very concerned Red's going to let spill, since he's all buddy-buddy with the FBI now.
So the real question is has Red been an undercover CIA agent this entire time for the last 20 years, trying to infiltrate these people so that Alan Alda's group can bring it down? Or, and this is where John Eisendrath comes back in, of course, one of the showrunners for the Blacklist, is this something kind of like Alias's The 12, right? The 12 kind of world power leaders that kind of run all the criminal activity, and is Alan Alda the one sitting on this mega board of bad guys, and then he's using Red in order to continue his operation?
Really, that's kind of how I took it. It really does seem that way. But again, with this show, with the Blacklist, nothing is as it seems. So it really could be anything, but I think that's a very plausible chance that's what's going on.
So let's kick it back over to Mr. Appleeater's apartment. And Liz obviously comes in, sees the surveillance, can recognize her place on the TV monitors. And then, of course, Mr. Appleeater, one of his associates, because we've never really seen Mr. Appleeater's face until this point, comes up behind, and then, of course, Liz disarms him and is able to take him out with her own gun. But the thing that I was just kind of frustrated with was, oh my gosh, they killed him, and we still don't know who he works for.
Right.
So, I mean, you have suspicions? Do you think, apparently it's not Red, because if it was Red, then Red's employee that basically comes in to do the cleanup, we'll call her the cleaning lady, Mrs. Kaplan, if we assume that's her name, she comes in. So assuming that, then we have to probably think that Red didn't hire these people to spy on Liz. So I think we're back to either Tom hired him, or now we have to assume that Alan Alda's group has been keeping an eye on Liz as well, because they're more concerned about Red and his relationship with Liz.
That's exactly what happens. She calls that Mr. Kaplan number, the number that Red gave her to call, and who shows up is this lady, this kind of librarian-looking lady shows up, and she just kind of takes charge of the scene, cleaning up ballistics and running facial recognition software, and basically telling Liz they're not going to tell anybody about this. They're going to remove the bullets, so ballistics can't trace the gun back to her. Basically, her job is to protect Liz and to find Red. That's what she's there to do.
Now, when she arrives on the scene, Liz says something like, she recognized her. And I couldn't, for the life of me, remember seeing this person in any episode through the entire 10 that we've had so far. Did you see her at all?
No, I didn't. I actually went through and scoured through my notes from the show, and there has been no reference to her before, so I don't know how or why Liz knows her, but she certainly did recognize her.
So we'll throw that out as our talkback question of the week. Have any of you seen this Ms. Kaplan, the cleaning lady, as we'll call her, anywhere on the season before? And if not, and you just want to throw a talkback out there anyway, what are your theories? How might she be tied to Red and Lizzie in the end of the game? So I'm curious on the Alan Alda play. So what do you think is really going on at the end of the day? Do you think that Alan Alda did something to Red and his family?
I really think that Red was perhaps hired by Alda and his associates, and again has come across information that they want to make sure he does not let go. He seemed genuine. He tells Red, I like you. I don't want to have to kill you. I really like you. And he actually kind of seems to take a little bit of mercy on him, because Alan Alda, whose character we never do learn his name, and Garrick are having a conversation, and Garrick's basically saying, all right, I did what you wanted. I brought him and you had your conversation. Now I get to kill him. And Alda's like, I really don't want you to do that. And that kind of leads to the big showdown between Red and Garrick.
So the question I have is, do you think that Alan Alda's character and the director lady that's kind of running the division over Harold, do you think that maybe they're related or married in some way?
Absolutely could be. That'd be a really interesting story twist, wouldn't it?
Yeah, because, Harold went out of his way to make sure to get the footage to show her that, hey, she's been surveilled too, which I think kind of creeped her out a little bit. And maybe she doesn't know everything that she knows, because the other twist, of course, is that she's also behind this the entire time, because now we have all kinds of new possibilities and threads, more than just is Red Lizzie's father. Now this is kind of opened up a little bit so that we can have a lot of direction for the future episodes for the rest of season 1.
Yeah, that's very plausible. I actually kind of like that idea. It'll be curious to see if that's where they go with it.
Or if Harold is something involved, too, because, Harold's been kind of a backseat player, but, he is the assistant director. So is Harold, who also grew up with Red, through the ranks before Red went rogue, so is Harold going to play some significant role in the future episodes here after we come back from the winter break?
Too many questions. And no answers. That's what this show likes to do.
Stop the madness. But what a great fitting end, though. Because you have Red, who's been completely dosed up and just on this adrenaline rush, and somehow managed to get a pair of scissors without anybody knowing, and then ends up just killing Anslo right there while his hands are still tied.
Yeah, he just takes him out in real quick fashion, and then he just beats it out of there, and very shortly behind. And it's one of the few things about the Blacklist that really bothers me is their ability to disseminate information out of nothing. Just they're looking at satellite images, and all of a sudden Liz goes, "Is that a church?" And they figure out that that's where Red is. Red must be at that church in Baltimore, I believe it is.
Right.
And of course they head there, and of course that was exactly where Red was, but by the time they get there, all that's left is Anslo's body on the floor.
Yeah, I've been to these 5 other places, the grocery store, the gas station, and just this one industrial park down the road. That must be where everything's going down, because that's the one place that's just out of the ordinary for my entire GPS travels.
Right, yeah, and they take that liberty quite often in this show, but that's okay. I'll give them that one.
Yeah, but at the same time, I think that what they do with this show is really keep the pace going, because even though I was actually watching it live tonight and had to sit through the commercials really went pretty quick clipped to keep everything moving along. So really great job, really great writing. Love the first 10 episodes so far. Really glad that we're going to get to see 3 episodes returning Monday, January 13th with 3 back-to-back. If you play along with the television world, typically they order 13 episodes for the first season and then decide if they want to pick up another 9 or if they want to just renew it for a second 13 for a second season. And so for the Blacklist, they are going to do another 9 as part of season 1 for a total of 22 episodes. So based on that, technically, this is episode number 10. So January 13th, January 20th, and January 27th would be the original 13-episode run. So the question we have, of course, is are we done with this story yet? Have we moved on to Act 2? Or will the January 3 episodes kind of finish up Act 1?
Exactly. And before we wrap this up, we got to talk about that last little 3-minute segment, which is the phone call from Reddington to Liz. Very, very important information comes out there. Of course, Red has escaped and no one knows where he is. He's gone underground, and Lizzie's cell phone answers and it's Red.
Well, and the question is why did he run away in the first place? You know, because if he had an agreement with the FBI, is it that Alan Alda's crew, we'll call them, are they pissed off that he went to the FBI? Because that's what it made it seem during the conversation. Like, you know, are you trying to make friends with them to kind of expose us? So did he feel like it's better for me not to be with Lizzie and the gang because being with the FBI is just as dangerous as being on the run? Because now technically he's got two groups hunting him down.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And I think he was feeling like a hunted man. Whatever he's doing with the FBI has to do with Lizzie. And I don't think what's going on with Alan Alda and his bunch even really plays into it. It does now because of what has gone down. But I don't think Red's intention was ever to release any of that information. He's doing something with Liz. He even says that to Alan Alda at one point in their conversation. He says, you know, what I have going on has nothing to do with you, but I don't think Alan Alda bought it.
So Liz point blank asks the question we've all been wanting to know, you know, are you my father? And Red says no. Do you believe him?
I do and I don't. I've said all along I don't think that he's her father, and I still don't. So I'm going to say no, but he is involved in her life somehow. I still don't know how, but I don't think that he is the father. But he does offer another ominous little piece of information, and that is, be careful of your husband.
That's right. And Tom is still number one bad guy in my book. I'm watching that guy like a hawk. I thought for sure something was going to come out with Tom in the episode this evening, especially after Liz went across the street and then drove away with the cleaning lady.
Yeah, you see him kind of peering out that window like, what's going on?
Yeah, speaking of the cleaning lady, it's our talkback question this week. Have we seen the cleaning lady before? And if so, where have you seen her? And then, of course, you know, give us any kind of feedback for the first 10 episodes. If you want to just leave a general comment, get the TV Talk app at tvtalkapp.com. And then, of course, remember to follow me at Troy Heinritz and Dave at Savini Fan during the short hiatus for the Blacklist news and updates that we'll bring your way. And, of course, if you listen to the show in iTunes, we definitely love a rating and a review, especially after these first 10. Love to hear your thoughts and what we could do better for the second half of season 1. Thanks to all of those of you who have already reviewed the show on iTunes and left great feedback there. Dave and I greatly appreciate it.
Absolutely. And until January 13th, 2014, have a safe and happy holiday season from me, Dave.
And me, Troy, and all of us here at TV Talk. Have no fear. NBC will give us more bad guys and cases to unwrap this season on The Blacklist.
And now it's time for this week's Talkback Clips.
We hope you enjoyed this special version of The Blacklist Exposed, previously aired on the TV Talk Network and used with permission. Until next time, I'm Agent Troy Heinritz. That's at Troy Heinritz on Twitter. And if you want to learn more about me, just visit, well, about.me/Troy Heinritz.
And I'm Agent Aram Peterson. You can hear me talking about movies and TV on the Hollywood Outsider podcast, as well as Remake This Movie Right. We are available at thehollywoodoutsiders.com or on Twitter at H_outsider. Be sure to subscribe, download the app, submit your feedback, but most importantly, keep yourself off of The Blacklist.
The Blacklist Exposed is a Golden Spiral Media production. Find more of our great podcasts at goldenspiralmedia.com/podcasts.